Do leadership differently. This is a project for research for my work with my clients. You see, I coach people who are strong creative problem solvers in various fields. They work in highly intense environments and they know how to perform at a peak level. And some of them are missing something because we can't see our own selves. Different is better than better. Deconstructing the best leaders in various industries can be of tremendous value to anyone who's seeking to be a better leader themselves. In this video, I interview Efrat Fenigson, who is the VP of Marketing at Mindspace. She held various marketing positions in global tech companies, both enterprises and startups. She's traveled the globe for her work. Efrat holds a degree in computer science and started out as a programmer. She lived in Australia for 6 years and studied there in university. That's where she started her first business, in the jewelry and fashion accessories industry. Today, she is one of the co-founders of the GCMO community, a closed community for top CMOs in Israel running global operations outside of Israel. These include approximately 120 CMOs from companies such as SodaStream, AppsFlyer, and Amdocs, amongst many others. In addition, she runs a Facebook community of 6,000 people to help them with personal branding. She has a very diverse experience in different industries, from video and TV technology to drones and autonomous mobility. And now she's in real estate services. Efrat is also a single mom to an 11-year-old boy. And as you'll see, she's also a social activist with an incredible mission. Enter Efrat Fenigson. Enjoy.
Hello.
Hello, Efrat.
Hi.
There you are.
How are you?
Good, fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. So thank you very much for your time. And hopefully we're going to get some fantastic insight. Sorry, my coaching is bespoke, boutique. It's tailor-made per client. And the way I like to describe it sometimes is when we're children, we're asked what our dream is. And we answer. And they say, great, that's awesome. Then as we grow older, we're confronted with the same question again. Either we ask ourselves or someone asks us, and we answer. But then they typically say, okay, but that's just a dream. And when they say that, that severs the connection between us and our dream. And then our dream remains as this faint shadow that follows us everywhere we go, and typically also acts as an anchor that holds us back from achieving what we should be achieving. Then I come into the picture. I reestablish the connection between you and your dream. I bring you to your dream, and then I make your dream 10 times bigger.
Very cool.
Let's get into the questions. What are your top 3 business or career successes that you are most proud of? You could list like the impact you had, or the difference you've made, the income you've created, or the acknowledgements you've received. So put humility to the side for a moment and let
Top
it
3
flow.
career successes that I'm most proud of?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Top 3 business or career successes that you're most proud of.
This is a niche story. One of the things I'm very proud of is when I was a programmer and I was 25, I was in Australia. It was very clear to me that I can't continue down that path.
Mm.
I was very disappointed to leave that path because I knew how much my parents wanted me to go down that path and how much it is a good one, and I'm letting it go, but it was clear I cannot continue. If you'd ask me, so what do you want to do? Where do you want to take it? Back then when I was 25, I had no idea. The only thing I could say is that I want to do something to represent Israel overseas. I said that I want to have like my next thing that I'm doing. I want to do something that will impact the way that people see Israel from overseas. That's all I said. And then down the track, 2 years later, when I came back to Israel, I didn't really know where to open that direction. And an opportunity came from a friend offering me to be interviewed to the Israeli Export Institute, which is a semi-governmental association that helps the Israeli industry create ties, business ties with counterparts overseas. So I went and I interviewed and I got accepted. And 3 months down the track, I got this lucrative position of being a business development manager of the high-tech sector in
Wow.
the Israel Export Institute. And before I knew it, I took with me 28 tech professionals to a delegation in Canada and presented on stage. It was a telecommunications delegation. And, it was the first time I did anything like that. And then, I was there for 3 years. I carried a lot of delegations overseas. I spoke on stages in Europe, in the US, in Asia. And I created a lot of business for Israeli companies out of that role. And I had no clue that the things that I'm saying when I was 25 is actually going to be manifested like that 2 years afterwards when I came back to Israel. So that was something I was really proud of.
Amazing.
Yeah. What else? Let's see. Career or business success. I think the second thing would be my agenda to bring diversity into the organizations that I've worked in. And I know that diversity is a big word, and it relates to many types of groups, but I'm mainly focused on women. And so in almost every company that I've worked for, I brought to the attention and to the awareness of the company the importance of integrating more and more women in leadership positions and in general in the company. And I had to do many things in order for that to happen, because it's not that easy in the tech industry in Israel to have more and more women join. So a lot of conversations, a lot of campaigns, a lot of partnerships with different organizations in different companies, and from time to time, even guerrilla campaigns outside my work in order to impact the way workplaces view women leadership and women in the workplace. There are pay gaps, gender gaps, rights gaps in rights, etc. And it's very important for me to continue and working towards that. So I think that's the second thing I'd be proud of. And then the third thing, I take the last year. The third thing would be the last year here in Mindspace. I joined Mindspace 2 months before Corona started.
So how long has that been? It's been
a year and 4 months.
Almost a year and a half. Okay.
Exactly. And when I joined, I came to the company knowing I'm going to grow my team, grow the business. I had my vision for what I'm going to do. It was quite clear. And, all of a sudden, Corona, no one expected. I had to let go of half of my team, stop a lot of the activity, freeze budgets, and, whatever happens when you freeze everything. And I found myself with 3 team members and myself having to kind of keep what we have in place, and retain obviously the business and the team members, but also working towards future growth on very small resources. I had my personal breakdown back in April when it happened, crying, thinking, this is not what I signed up for, and it's all gonna blow up.
Wow.
And it's not gonna work. And I think it took me, on that day that I broke down, it took me like 20 minutes to snap out of it and see the good that is ahead of me. And the funny thing was that all I needed is to hear from my boyfriend that he loves me. That's all I needed. It's like, I asked him, if everything goes wrong, are you still there for me? Do you still love me? And he's like, of course I do. And I said, great. Okay. So now it's time to snap out of it. So
because especially your type of business during the pandemic, like
yeah,
Airbnbs and WeWork and all these kind of spaces, you must have been hit pretty hard.
we've been hit not hard. We're lucky because we're a stable company and a profitable company. So not hard, but we have been hit, of course.
Mm,
But our trajectory out of it is very positive and very clear.
mm.
But that's a topic to
Yeah.
another. Just to continue from where I left off. So anyway, it was a bit of boost of love, and then I knew that I need to recover and start building. So I did. I built the team. I built the projects for the next few months, and 4 or 5 months down the track, I went into startup mode again. And since I've worked in startups, I knew like how to operate in that kind of environment, in that kind of crisis mode, and very low on budgets, etc. We did it, and then like 4 or 5 months down the track, I got the okay from the board to start building it again. And so now it's like 6 months since then. I'm back on my feet with like 12 team members,
Wow.
building a growth machine here. The demand is off the charts from what it used to be. So we're doing very, very well, but I had to like recruit my energies, my confidence, my calmness, like just to be safe and sound that things are going to be okay, and I'm going to be functioning okay, and that
Mm,
I'm not ruining anything, and it's not me, it's like the environment. My only role is how I take it and how I'm being in the face of it. And once I brought what was needed and my leadership skills, it all fell into place. So it's not that it's not challenging, it's not that it's not hard, or stretching my abilities, but it's, for me, it's like it's a journey, and it's fun, and it's part of what I do. So I think the way I've functioned in the last year is, on the business side, is something that I'm quite proud of.
that's amazing. That's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so next question. What do most people do in business that you do differently? And does that help you thrive or struggle?
I didn't hear the beginning of the question. Can you repeat?
What do most people do in business that you do differently?
Good one. Wow. I know. Well, I've worked with so many professionals throughout the year. I've worked with so many people, and I had a lot of bosses or leaders, or people that I looked up to throughout my career, and many people I had the opportunity to learn something from. And I think the ones that I took the most from are the ones that brought emotional intelligence and compassion to their work, to the people that they worked with. And that's how I am as a manager today. I first of all see the person in front of me, and I listen. I bring a lot of compassion to my listening, and I hear the person before I hear the professional. So I try to take away whatever is there in the background for the person before we dive into business, before we go into the nitty-gritty details of what there's to get done. And I think the fact that I manage people or work with people with a high level of compassion and and listening is quite different. It doesn't mean that I'm not strict. It doesn't mean that I'm not demanding or highly professional. I am all these things, and many times I have to be like even tough. But I always have this background or context of listening and compassion. And I think it just doesn't work if you don't bring that. I mean, it can work, but it will be limited and it will not be sustainable. It will not be, the connection will not be as strong. The trust you build will not be as strong. I think if you build things on top of that foundation of compassion and great listening, then you have an advantage.
For sure. I love it. I love it. That's very important. That's dear to my heart. I've been in high tech my past. By profession, I was in high tech for over 10 years. By vocation, that's not really where I shine. I was good at it, but that's not my zone of genius. This is my zone of genius. This is where I could really impact people. And I've been in toxic environments and I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So it warms my heart to see other people in the industry who are doing things differently.
Yeah, sure. I just don't want it to sound like I think I'm a saint. Obviously, I'm not, and I make mistakes, but I always try to ground myself back to that principle of listening, of really listening, and of cleaning out the noise of criticism and bringing my compassion.
Fantastic. One more question. What would you like to accomplish that may look impossible right now, but if it were achieved, would change everything?
In my current position, in my business, or in
You.
life?
What would you like to achieve?
Wow. You don't want this conversation to be political, right? Because that's what I would like to achieve. I would like to change the government in Israel. That would make everything, wow, that would make a new world of difference.
But I'm referring to, let me be clear. I'm referring to something that's in your power, to your control, not something that you could kind of like start a little fire here and there and talk to some other people to do something. I'm talking what you could do. What would you personally like to accomplish that may look impossible right now, but if it were achieved, would change everything?
I don't know if that's possible, but I would have liked to open people's eyes for how terrible it is to discriminate people. I mean, if I had the power, if that was accomplished, if people could kind of wake up and see that with their actions, with their prevention of taking an action, they are allowing discrimination to happen on various backgrounds, that would be so fucking amazing. Because I think that around us right now, there are so many cases of discrimination, whether it's gender, medical based, whatever it is, that you discriminate people based on their choices or based on who they are and where they come from, etc. That it's just so wrong. And the whole concept of equality versus discrimination is not being, like, people are not aware of it, not awakened to it. They're like living life thinking that since someone told them to do something, they just accept it and it's fine, rather than operating their own common sense and judgment and saying, no, I'm hurting someone by doing this, by complying, by, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if I could just make more people wake up and see that what they're doing or how they're behaving is hurting someone else and discriminating someone else, that would be the world for me on so many fronts here in Israel, right? It would impact so many fronts, so many groups of people. Like that would be a dream.
And you're not talking only about Israel.
I'm talking about the world. I'm just seeing the immediate impact it would have here on several fronts, on several groups. But of course not. Of course, I'm not talking just about Israel. This needs to happen everywhere.
See, I'm working with some professional in Australia at the moment who is on a mission to impact 1 million people, to educate them financially and give them specific tools that he has developed to help people live a sustainable life in a much easier fashion. That's his mission that we worked on together.
Yeah.
Talking like impacting 1 million people. So
that's amazing.
This is exactly the type of stuff that I like to play with. And the question was worded in a very specific way. And you answered it perfectly. Because I asked, what is an impossible thing right now? And you repeated those words and said, well, this is impossible. That's how you started your answer. Because currently at this moment, it really is impossible. I'll give you one tip. This is how this client of mine started. For him, when we worked on this vision of his, he was like, yeah, but it's kind of like I described, it's kind of like this dream that's out there, right? But it's not really part of him. Well, when you speak your world outwards, and I'm not saying just speak it to the mirror, speak it to everyone, you are creating that world. I told him what he has to start doing right away is when he meets someone in the supermarket, at a business conference, and they ask him, what do you do? He rolls out of his mouth without thinking twice, I'm on a mission to impact 1 million people, to educate them financially with these tools that I have developed. Just like that. That's not his profession. He came from accounting. He's doing some other stuff as well. He's launching a big project now. But his mission, what his mission is, what is he? What do you do? That's what I do. And it's not his full-time job. It is not. It will be, but it's not. But that's who he's becoming to the world.
Yeah.
The moment you are ready, Efrat, you will start speaking that to the world. People ask you what you do. So where you're working now is great, but what is it that you do? Who are you? I'm on a mission to change equality in the workspace, in whatever it is, globally, starting with my little hub, small country in the Middle East, Israel. That's who you are. And the truth is, you don't necessarily need politics for that, and maybe even better without. They have power, but that could change whoever's in power. You know, the real changes start from below, as you know.
Yeah.
That's who you are. That's an amazing mission.
Thank
and
you.
On a personal level, it is, because I have 5 daughters. That's how it is. So I would appreciate if you are successful too. It's coming from a very deep place. I care for them dearly, and people like you are the people who are going to go ahead and change the world for the better for these individuals.
I hope so.
That's amazing.
Thank you.